self-driving technology and Uber and stuff, and it's awesome because it's like you're just so driven and so like you're just involved in like everything's just so quickly. So what is it like working at these tech companies in San Francisco? Like what advice would you give to somebody who maybe have like, maybe they're like you, like maybe they didn't have a formal schooling? Like what made you decide like, yeah, I can do this? I think not a lot of people have that courage, especially like in the Bay Area. Everything's so competitive. And like, what would you say to people who are looking to get into that space, maybe feel unqualified, and like, I guess what was it actually like working in that space too?
Okay, cool. So first, how to get in, right? If you find out this knowledge is very valuable. This is the reason why universities pay me $5,000 every time to go speak, because they want to know this information. So gladly you're listening to this right now.
Yes, be grateful.
Right? Well, at least take advantage.
We should charge for this, but because we're friends, it's free. So you guys better take notes, okay? You're driving, pull over and take notes. Sorry.
Yes, so, and it's brought to you by Lee. So you know, he's the one, the greatest.
Maybe I'll be funny one day.
All right.
But sorry, go ahead.
This is how it happens. I love your energy, by the way. This is how it happens. So first, you know, personal branding is big time. It's bigger than you think. And most people don't realize how having a LinkedIn profile definitely is a starting point for you in that personal branding side. And of course, just because you look good doesn't mean you can do something, right? So you need the attitude and you need the aptitude. And of course, so these tech companies right now, they don't even require college degrees.
That's true. Yeah, they don't care anymore.
They don't care anymore. They only want skill set. So, and right now, if you say like, oh, but I don't have the skill set, that means you're a person who uses excuses, and they usually don't want those people. So if you're somebody who are driven and do what it takes, you're going to possess the skills, because there are many online platforms where you can learn this skill for free, like Khan Academy, like code.org or something like that. Like there's so many. There's a college in Fremont, California, where you can go study for free. You can even come from a country out of the US and study for free. All you have to do is pass a 30-day test, like a trial, and you can become a software engineer for free. You never pay a dime. They even give you a dorm if you need the dorm. And so the school is called 42 Silicon Valley. So 42 Silicon Valley. And so the school's at 100% free. So there's no excuses, right? There are a lot of online platforms. I don't know them all because I didn't go through all of them, but I'm aware that they are there. All you have to do is Google it. And so when you say like, you're in an interview and you say, how do you learn this skill? And you say, well, I was in my room and I began Googling it. They're going to think this person is proactive, this person researches, this person takes action, this person follows through, and they go all the way through the finish line, because now this person is in the interview. So they see and hear things that you are not saying verbally in the conversation, right? So that's the step number one, to build your brand. Build a brand through LinkedIn, through your skill set. And also the social media, be very aware of what you're putting on, because if you do some crazy stuff, even though the interviewer may do it themselves, at this moment you are out of the company, so you're not one of them, so they don't care. So they're not gonna like you if you're doing some crazy stuff and it's up on social media, you know? Whether you use Instagram or Snapchat or whatever platform you put on, and if they can find you, they always use softwares to scan everything about you. So this is step number one. Step number two, in order to get to the interview, you need a way to get to the interview, right? And so the way to get to an interview is there's a bridge that you have to go through before. And that bridge is a connection that you need to find in the company you want to work with, and request for them to give you 10 to 15 minutes of their time to do what is called informational interview. And in this interview, you're not going to ask them like, hey, is there a job for me? How much they pay and stuff like that. You're simply going to ask them, hey, I'd love to learn about how is it that you got in, right? And then they let you know. And people usually love to talk about themselves. So they'll tell you more and even more details. And then you ask a few more questions. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing, blah, blah, blah. By the way, I'm planning to apply for whatever role. And when you say I'm planning to apply for a role, have a position in mind. You know, don't say I'm trying to apply for whatever is open, because
that's so annoying.
You're going to make them work.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, give me the link, and then I'll see if I can find a hiring manager to get your resume in their hands. Don't apply online before you talk to somebody, you know, talk to somebody always. So that's the second thing, right? The third thing is, of course, go through the interview, and in the interview process, make yourself unique through your own story. And many people say like, how in the world, everybody says that, why they keep saying that, and they don't really say how, right? I'm gonna tell you how I did it myself. And I got a full-time job at Uber, right? And I'm not talking about driving the cars, but the self-driving technology itself. So the lady said like, Ovi, if you were to name our self-driving vehicle, what would you name it?
Ooh.
Right? And I was like, well, my first thought was I was gonna name it some type of transformer, you know?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, what were you gonna name? Which transformer?
Well, like Megatron, you know, or whatever. But this is what I did. I said, I remember when I was 10 years old, my mom bought me a cow. So I immediately,
like an animal.
She bought me a cow, like a cow, you know, like a milky cow. And so I immediately took the person in a journey, right? I was 10 years old. My mom bought me a cow. I was living in the village, and the cow was a baby cow. So I decided to name the cow Angela. And I said, whenever I felt alone and I felt depressed because I didn't have a father growing up, I said I would always go and talk to Angela, and that's when I would always feel safe and at peace. I said, so if I were to name this self-driving car, I would name it Angelo, because I want people to feel safe and at peace. Now, why did I say this? Number one, to make me unique, and number two, because their goal for every company that works on self-driving cars is for people to feel safe in the car.
Yes.
So now, boom, you hit it right in the target. And that's what got me in. And the environment is very nice. They pay for everything. They pay for my food, for my hotels, for my traveling. They gave me a credit card for my cell phone, for my gym membership, Uber free rides everywhere. And I was bawling. And I'm talking, I was like 25 years old, young immigrant speaking with an accent. I mean, you can still hear my accent, and I was already doing all that, traveling everywhere, listening to a lot of stuff, learning a lot of stuff, and they pay for all the certifications, getting free food for free every day. You know, I was like, never had to cook. I always brought food to my house. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Wow.
That was
so much good stuff. Like
very competitive.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh my God, I have so many questions. So I was going to ask you stupid questions, but I can't even ask that because you're so smart. So I'm going to ask this question because I'm curious to hear from your point of view. I feel like fatherless homes are kind of a big problem in our society. So as somebody who's like overcome that problem, like, you know, you're a father now, but like, what would you advise, like, I guess younger, because I want to hear from your perspective because you are like a young father. Like, what advice would you give to younger men who didn't have a father? How would you suggest them to find direction and guidance in life?
How would I suggest them to find directions and guidance in life?
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely personal development books or workshops, just material in general, personal development, because this knowledge and guidelines, personally, I learned from a guy named Zig Ziglar, who, rest in peace, he passed away a couple of years ago, and learned, you know, principles of being a leader, being a person of a family. And this is what I realized when I was very young, like teenager. I said, okay, I don't have a father to look at my example, so I'm just going to look as an example to every man around me.
Oh, that's so good.
So now I got more than what you could get with one father. Now I have many fathers.
I love that. That's awesome. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to just finish by saying I took them as an example.
So what makes you want to look up to a man? Is it like they align with your core values of family and respect, or like do you draw different qualities from different men? Like what makes you think, okay, this guy's a guy I can look to? Because not every guy is an example. So what is your criteria?
Of course. So my criteria is based on two things. So thing number one is like what my grandma taught me, and thing number two is like what society thinks is right. And then how that best applies to me. So like what my grandma taught me was, you got to respect your elders, right? So if I see a man this man